yeah, like I say, like to just work with my hands. My father was always working on the car, and you know. All right, we're rolling now.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll go back to the beginning.
And actually, well, when I first was hired here, at the time, didn't. I mean, that just might have. I went to school for television production, and it was I as an intern at Channel 25 and so on. So I was initially wanted to do that side of things. Hence, kind of similarities here, but so I thought I'd be here for a few years. While I still check the market and such. But as kind of got to grow into this place. It's in. Okay, so this wasn't really so bad. So it's as I've worked here with the people, and I was accepted, if you will, and then I kind of stopped looking elsewhere because I was happy here.
The first time I met Mr. Miller was approximately, I would say, 1996, when I was playing high school basketball and at a nearby high school, and he was doing his thing at the basketball game, announcing, scoring on the scoreboard, running the shot clock, the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And that's the first time I met Mr. Miller. And then when I was an athletic director at a previous school at Groton Dunstable, he was doing those types of sporting events. So I already knew Mr. Miller very well before I came to Westford Academy. I came here in 2010. This is where his primary place of work has been. Mm-hmm. But he's always done the sports things, the announcing and the games and the timing and the clocks and all those things for many, many years. So I've known him for a lot longer than just my time since 2010 when I first came here to Westford Academy. So
when I met Mr. Miller, like 2009, when I came to WA, it was the first time I met him. So little did I know the impact he would have on the athletic program. I think that he's kind of like a guy like, oh yeah, that guy. We see him walking around. But what we don't see is, because we hear him a lot, we hear him announcing on all the athletic games. That's extracurricular activities. What you don't see is during the day. The students every student is affected by Mr. Miller. Why? He handles all the phones. He handles all the clocks. He handles all the bells. When the bell schedule is changed, there's not just a manual person up there pushing a button. All the different bell schedules we have, whether it's advisory day, whether it's a half day, a snow day, an early release, an early dismissal, an early arrival. All the bells have to be adjusted. WABC every single morning. I can go on. Not to mention any performances in the PAC. He's involved with any meetings, the pre-meetings at the beginning of the year with all the teachers. Inevitably, something goes wrong, and we have every teacher, including all of the principals, the deans, the superintendent. Dr. Chu will be talking, and something will happen to the microphone. We look around and say, where's Mr. Miller? And he'll come out of nowhere, and he'll make an adjustment, and he'll fix the problem, and he will be very much missed, way more than anyone knows, because of all the stuff he does behind the scenes.
Mr. Miller, he's really dedicated and passionate. I think I can count on one hand the amount of days of school that he's missed my entire high school career. And he's seen the whole club has seen a lot of technological issues, and lots of different people have come in and out of the club, but he's always been the mainstay who adapts and makes sure that we still have morning absence in the morning.
My official title is audiovisual technician. I was hired in December of 1983. And, needless to say, technology has changed over the last 40 plus years. So a lot of similarities to now, just making sure that, on the technical side, even back then, that classrooms, whatever form of media they were using, back then it was more projectors, with film and VHS tapes or whatever that, equipment was working, and teachers were able to teach whatever format that they were using. And you know, something doesn't work, call here. So, like I remember when we started getting computers here, it was like the Apple IIe and the Macintosh, and you know, again, just prior to the internet, and you know, again, a former, you know, they changed, like a typing classes became keyboarding and a little more of that. Like, you know, I suppose Mr. Scully's class is a good representation of what was back then. So.
I would say when I became a dean, when I transitioned from athletic director to a dean of students here, I think when I became a dean of students, I noticed that, because I'd seen so much of the sports side of every single thing that he would do just for the athletics piece. You know, the Performing Arts Center and the town meeting, I'd see all those very public things that he was always doing. And then I think when I got to the dean side of things, I noticed how many more things that he did during the day around the building to make, you know, Westford Academy operate. So that was what, 2017 or so, you know, and so that was, you know, then I got the full picture of everything, right? And then even now, in the last 2 years in this role as a principal, there's more things that I've asked him to do, and you know, it's, you know, so just that alone, where he has gone from my knowing him as an announcer, my knowing him as an athletic director, then seeing him as a dean, and now seeing him, you know, working with him as a principal. It's just there's when we were working on what the many job responsibilities he has to try to fill these things next year, it was like it kept going and going and going, and it was just like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. You do that too. So you know, I would say the appreciation for Mark and the many hats he wears has grown substantially, you know, every year around here. So.
Well, yeah, obviously I'm here obviously every morning. I gotta prep for WABC, so, or I should say, I just let the kids in, they do all the work. But yeah, again, we're in by 7, and you know, a lot of times, you know, with the athletics, be it either the announcing or whatever, you know, just it kind of carries over. But yeah, it almost does seem like I am here, you know, quite a bit. Again, there's always some activity, you know, as you know, the building is always active, like almost, it seems like 24 hours, so there's always something going on here. You know, again, not just athletics, be it, you know, theater or any other activities that are going on. So
WABC formed basically with the addition of the studio. So this portion was built with the addition, like right around 1999, 2000 or whatever. So when this studio was built, because initially prior to the addition, the library was actually on the first floor where the guidance area currently is, and there was a classroom across the hall. So so yeah, when we built the library, the studio was incorporated into the plans, and we kind of got up and running about a year after. So I think 2001, I think, was our first year on here. Myself and a retired librarian, Mrs. Petrus, you know, the two of us were in at it, you know, and it we kind of formed this, and it was also an idea of one of a former student at the time who was a really go-getter to, you know, kind of get this off the ground. He was one of our anchors, our original anchors. Well, it was again kind of a growing phase, you know, between, you know, when do we air is actually there were times during the earlier years we actually went on live, so the crew would actually get out of class a few minutes early at the end, and then we'd go on live. So they kind of like the way it is now. We do a live on tape. It's usually a one take, so the way the crew is between behind the scenes and front scenes, you know, there aren't many mistakes, so they good. But, you know, we've had a couple of hiccups during the live performances, but, you know, such as live television. You know, we were very basic with, you know, some simple cameras, and then, you know, I can't remember how long ago, but when Westford Academy, we've worked with Westford Academy over the years, but when they upgraded their studio, we got the hand-me-downs of all their studio cameras, which is great. I mean, it saved us thousands of dollars and actually get better quality than what we had originally. So we're able to do multi-camera shoots and different angles. Now we play videos and slides and graphics, and so that's kind of evolved over the years from our first year of WABC and getting our feet wet and kind of building it from the ground up. It's just like it's like starting a new club, a new activity. I mean, just we had an idea what we wanted to do, and whereas before announcements were just done over the PA system, so this was a new form of media, and again, part of the addition, none of the classrooms originally had TVs in them, so when we did the addition, you notice we had all the TVs installed, for this. So again, it was kind of in the planning stages as well, so we kind of planned for this so that, the rooms had the means to watch the announcements. So, well, like I say, WABC and stuff, we came on the air, I believe, in 2001, so that's 24 years now, so. Technology, as a matter of fact, it's almost, something new today is going to be obsolete tomorrow. It's just even on versions of whatever it is today, by the time I get to learn something new, I get to change it. But
honestly, it was kind of overwhelming at first, but then Mr. Miller and some of the other club members, they taught me how to work all the equipment, and then it started to become really fun. It was my routine that I would come in and do the show and then go to class.
So what I'm doing right now is I'm just going through the WABC email to make sure we have no new announcements that need to be read today. Making sure that we have everything, making sure that we update the script with all of the present day stuff. So we normally go on air around 7:25, but we try to aim for a little earlier. It's a lot of fun trying to get it done before the bell.
I would definitely say that we learn by doing, so when people will join the club, they usually will come in after school for a session, and then he'll have them work every single role, and that kind of gives us hands-on experience, because that's definitely the best way to learn.
Okay, so you all set?
Yep.
Okay, recording.
Here you go.
Good morning, Westford Academy. Today is Thursday, March 20th. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Take two.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
Slides.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take slides.
The Westford Academy band will be selling 3 different kinds of baskets.
I think my favorite memory has got to be when whenever he brings in munchkins, probably, or whenever we just get a show perfect from start to finish and all the pieces come together.
Look at this. Right for the bell, and
Woo!
What is your favorite thing about Mr. Miller?
I would probably say his dedication. I think, like I mentioned before, he always shows up every day, and he's just been such a mainstay, and he seems really enthusiastic to be at the club no matter what problems we encounter.
I met him in the fall of that season, and then immediately right out of the gate with football. Whereas, hey, we need an announcer for the football game. No worries, it's Mr. Miller. So that's kind of how I first met him, and his impact. He is the voice of Westford Academy athletics, whether it's football or any of our tournament games, basketball, hockey, girls hockey, boys hockey, any sport that needs a clock or any type of announcing. He's just valuable. He's just invaluable to the program.
the actual announcing came on kind of like later on. I've been involved in the other sports. I mean, I mean, when I was first hired, I mean, there was a gentleman, Bob DeFilippi. He was actually the voice of the Ghosts at the time. Again, this was in the, you know, through the early to mid, 80s, maybe even the later 80s. There's been other people doing football games. I used to, record the football games. It wasn't, like I say, probably maybe within the last 10 years that I've started announcing the football games. Somebody took over the video and I started doing the announcing. Basketball, again, I've always worked to the clock, meaning the table and whatever. But again, the announcing, again, there had been other announcers prior to me, but somehow, again, after they had gone away, and I'm not sure if I was a pinch hitter at the time, the announcer couldn't make it that day, can I announce? And then I guess I kind of stuck. But yeah, kind of like, a lot of people are just kind of amazed that how I can multitask between doing the clock and announcing, and also the basketball shot clock, and then like I said, I carried over into ice hockey, and just prior to the starting lineups, I get all my paperwork, and first of all, I always try to talk to the opposing coaches as I go down the roster, or any names I can't pronounce. And I always try to do the best I can. I mean, everybody deserves to have their name announced correctly, and I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I mean, it's far from it, but at least I do try my best to, especially on an opposing team. I better get our kids right, that's the first and foremost, but I even try to, do the opposing team, and and again, I just, again, I do put myself into a zone, and then, once that horn goes off, then I'm off, and then basically everything's just, because I've been doing it so long, it's just muscle memory. It's just, everything's just reflex, and I don't think about it. It's just go. Well, again, as I've come to do it more frequently, again, I've become more relaxed with it, and obviously more confidence in myself, and I think a lot of it too. Again, I feed off the crowd feeds off of me, and then we get off, and of course the excitement of the game, and I don't know, it's just, but yes, it's just become more, I've become more accustomed to it, and like I say, it's again second nature.
I would say he's had many nicknames over the years, but there are people in the basketball world and sporting events world that one of his nicknames that came across was the professional. Because what he can do in some of those sporting events, whether it's timing, announcing, shot clock, most places that takes three people. Like, it really does. It's three people, and when he does do it, he does it perfectly. It's flawless. So he had earned this nickname through referees and other schools. Other schools would call and see if they could get him. He did some time with UMass Lowell doing some announcing there, and so he's done a lot of those things. And so that was his nickname, the professional. And then you get to Westford Academy and you work with him in the day-to-day world. And there are so many things around this building that nobody really understood or knew how it operates, but you would just put, Mr. Miller, I need some help on something, and he would appear and fix it, and it would be done and over with. And it would be fixed the next day, and you move on. So he's somebody who wears an incredible amount of hats around here. His role has continued to change throughout the years, but he's been somebody that makes the inner workings of Westford Academy operate every single day. So it's going to be a difficult transition without him next year.
It's not really after school as much as it's all day. Whenever I need anything, I go to him. So I'm going to really miss him between 7 and 2. I've told him, he does still want to announce. So he's not retiring from that. But I can fully expect that I'll be calling him prior to the event, prior to the times he's typically coming on site to do the event, where I might need to tweak Whether it's, hey, there's something wrong with the basketball scoreboard, some lights are out in the board itself because the numbers aren't correct. Could you come a little early and take care of that for me? The sound system's not working well in the press box. Mark, can you come take a look at it? One of the speakers needs work. It's going to be different because I'm used to having him available during 7 to 2, and now he's not going to be there. I think everyone is going to feel an effect for him not being, for him retiring. But I'm very happy for him.
The population, again, when I first started, the class sizes were here, graduate, about 200 or so, and they used to say the class sizes are 400 now, and just as the town grows, the population grows, and new developments. It's like in the early 2000s. I mean, it was a building boom as far as schools go. I mean, what was it? What was it when I was here? Christopher Lee, Miller, Stony Brook. Those are all new buildings. As a matter of fact, when I first started, Frost and Cameron were actually still active schools, elementary schools before those came on. Blanchard came online in '92. So Abbott and the Day were the middle schools. So anyway, like I say, it's people kind of found out what kind of a town Westford is. They all started moving in, and then, like I say, the big boom. We couldn't keep up. We actually had to house the kindergarten here for a brief time while they started building the elementary schools. It's just since then, like I say, like in the early 2000s, it just exploded. Like I say, they couldn't build the schools fast enough, and let's just say I think you had the 3 schools built within 4 years. It was 2 elementary schools, middle school, and like I say, the Millennium in 2000, that was just a temporary building to house. I think it was grade 5 and or grade 6 at the time, while the Stony Brook was being built. Again, just as a temporary housing, like I say, between that and having the kindergarten here at the academy, and so on. I mean, I was able to, grow with everything. I mean, part of it, I was involved in, as far as the technical side of things, when we were building these schools, I was included in the planning of, when we met with, the architects and everything like that prior to all the building. Okay, what do we foresee as needs in the classrooms, technology-wise or whatever, and as we're building all these schools, so, making sure that there are projectors in every room, and so on. And like I say, even the addition here at the high school, which I didn't mention earlier, again, that was at the same time. That was in '99, 2000. And again, having the projectors, the TVs in all the rooms, and so on. But at least that, kind of thinking ahead, kind of made my life a little easier after the fact. That things were in place. So when the buildings were, opened and came online, and made life easier both for me and the teachers and so on. It wasn't just me, but all various departments, like department heads, they put in the request for the needs. We gave our input, and kind of like the designing of the auditorium example for 2, myself and other professionals, we put our heads together, what looks good, but we also had to kind of, we put our requests in, but in the building committee had the ultimate say because they had a budget to deal with. So, some things might have got cut and passed. So, we present, the drawings, with the architects, we would like this, and furnishings as well, which is part of the overall budget. We put all the requests in, and ultimately the building committee approves or disapproves of the request, or sometimes if they need to shave certain things, okay, we can do this, but we can't do that. But ultimately, I did have a say in a lot of things, along with a lot of other department heads, and the requests for their curriculums and such like that.
It's kind of like mechanically inclined. I don't know how I started to repair things, but my father always worked on the car, and I was all his tools, and kind of got me into trying to learn how to fix things. So, you know, with various equipment like that, somehow I ended up fixing clocks. But even still on some of the other equipment there, you know, if things don't work, you know, I troubleshoot, you know, and I try to figure out why something's not working and then how to solve it. You know, I'm able to like order parts. You know, once I get a part, you know, then I'll you know, get whatever it is I'm working on going in. And you know, my predecessor who did some work as well left me a lot of tools, and you know, again, just, you know, repair and maintenance of, you know, the AV equipment. And most of this stuff is just clock related. You know, they're all just you know, primarily these are kind of like what we call movements. These are actually the guts with all the gears and everything, synchronized motor and everything, just you know, make sure that the clocks actually run at the correct speed. And you know, just all, you know, kind of at the kind of like the integration within the building, so from room to room. So it's, you know, like the sound system and kind of like the mechanicals of the building. Somehow I acquired that. I don't remember how, but hey, you know, if somebody can fix it, Miller can fix it. So, yeah, I'll just notice I can that I can get something working again, how I can fix it. I suppose that's self-gratification. You know, something doesn't work, you know, you get it working again, you fix it, and, you know, put it back out into circulation. So it's and again, you know, a lot of stuff, you know, I can do at minimal cost for the school department. You know, if you know, basically if I'm able to order like the parts and supplies for something, you know, I can put Humpty Dumpty back together again. Yes.
Yeah, like I say, right now I'm seeing second generation students, so yeah, you're, of course, now as I see the alumni coming back, say your kids are now the seniors. That's just like, I find that amazing. It's like, as I see alumni, you know, they're here in the stands watching their sons or daughters playing in sports here and or other activities. But yeah, just seeing the second generation, you know, again, knowing the families from the first time around, and yeah, I mean that's how it's always fun too. It's always good to see alumni. And, you know, it's one of those things, you know, where time just passes me by. I ask, you know, when I see an alumni, you know, I say, you graduate, what year did you graduate? And I say, and I usually do a double take, it's been that long. It's just like, wow. And like I say, you know, your kids are now in high school, and it's like, that's good. That's good. It's fun. It's amazing, but it's fun. You know, just to see the next generation coming through. It's starting to hit me a little bit. You know, just like, you know, as I think back of all the years and you know, the fond memories I've had here, and the people that I've worked with, both the students and my colleagues. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be different, especially in the fall when the first school bus goes rolling by the house and I don't have to get up. You know, I want to stay somewhat involved, but again, you know, there's part of retirement where I need to have a little separation too, you know, and then enjoy my, you know, personal life, and you know, kind of do things on my own, and, you know, do what I want type things. But yeah, you know, still see somewhat involved, but you know, again, there's a reason to retire.
If you could sum up in one word, like just the impact that Mr. Miller has had on WA, in the school and the community in general, what would you say that word is?
One word from Mr. Miller. I'd go back to the professional. You know, it's a he shows up every single day. Every single day. He works countless hours. He never says no to anything. He, you know, somebody that has his type of knowledge and institutional knowledge. You know, so when I say the term the professional, like he's the pro. Like you know, like to get to that level of understanding how every single thing works, and just his work ethic of literally showing up every single day. He's here on vacations, he's here on the weekends, he's here on this, whatever the task is that needs to be fixed, he gets it done. and it's well beyond 7:35 to 1:55. So, you know, that type of work ethic is a dying breed, you know. So when I say the professional, I mean that.
What I'll miss most, is our friendship. We have a good friendship. We have a good relationship. We'll argue at times about the way something should be done, or the presentation, the volume of something, but at the end of the day, I'll miss his friendship. I'll miss the fact that he's not just there. He's always there. Graduation. How does that sound system get all set up? How do all the seniors' names get read? How does that get sent out to the audience? Mr. Miller brings in a full audio system for that and makes sure it's perfect. Spirit rallies. The music and the announcing just doesn't show up on its own. He does that. We're gonna have to find people that can do that. And I call him like the Swiss Army knife. He can do everything, and he knows all about that. Whenever I need anything, I'm gonna probably miss that panic time that I have when something's not going well, and I'll either go up to his office or call him, and he comes right down and fixes the problem. That happens several times a year. So that's gonna be very stressful for me. I know it is. It's something that I'm now gonna have to think about, where before I kind of knew he was my binky, if you will, that I could always call him and he could help out and take care of things.
I think they should just know how much he cares. Like, I think a lot of times people don't really see all the work that he does around the school, but basically, like, a good chunk of the technology around the school that we use every single day, it's implemented by him.
We're gonna miss the guy. I know he's still gonna be around doing some of the sports stuff because he likes to do that. It keeps him entertained, and he enjoys that piece of it. I'm not gonna let him just disappear out of here. I might have him on a consultant fee of some sort to do some work when I need it. That feels like it might need to happen, but you know, if it's he's just a quiet human being that just goes about and does his job the right way every single day. And you know, I think that's a model for so many people that they might not recognize that, because this day and age, it's so much more about the big boisterous this and that type of person. But I think every organization needs somebody like Mark Miller, who just goes about and does his job the right way every single day. So, it's going to be missed.
Thank you. Really, thank you. Just an unsung hero. Someone who's willing to do whatever is needed for the betterment of the school, the community, the student body. He's one of those guys that just makes things run smoothly, and he will be sorely missed. But my final message to him is really thank you for your service. Thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for your really unconditional ability to announce or help out or take care of any situation, regardless of what it is. He's been terrific. He's been a good friend. He's really been good for Westford Academy, and fortunately, we're not losing him altogether. He's retiring from 7 to 2, but he'll be very visible, and we'll see him, but most importantly, we'll hear him in the future.
No, yeah, it's just the people. I mean, the people make WA, what it is, and and it's always good to see even alumni coming back. Now as my colleagues. As I remember a lot of people that were here as students, but are now, I'm working with them, and just they see something worth coming back. Once they leave, you're gonna get some that want to just leave and not look in the rearview mirror, and others, they get their degrees and then they come back, whether it be not necessarily just at the academy, maybe at one of the elementary or middle schools or whatever, but there's a lot of, alumni that do come back, just because they enjoyed it, and, it's what's kind of kept me around. It's just that, I would rather shine the spotlight than having the spotlight shine on me, it's just like, I'm, kind of more the giving side, it's just like, you do the work, I'll steer the ship, but you just they do all the work. Say it's like the kids here at WABC. I'll open the door and give them some guidance as needed, but they run the show. Well, again, they're at the beginning part, and it'd be nice to let them you know, show their abilities and their skills, and you know, as they go out into the real world, you know, let them get the experience, and you know, this is where they would learn, and it doesn't matter if it's an athletic or academic or you know whatever. I mean, as we see with all the various clubs, you know, they choose something that they like. You know, let's highlight it. You know, get them the publicity, and you know, something that will help them down the road. You know, be it either college or future on down in the workforce, or you know, whatever. I mean, you know, give them the recognition and the praise and the glory that of the achievements that they get, and let them, you know, be proud of their work.